Hi everyone and welcome back to WARNO. Today we are taking a look at our first round 2 game of the 2v2 tournament. Today we are watching Äiäkärpäset versus Bandanner, and that is Phoenix and Jasp for Bandanner and Horse and Mahti for Äiäkärpäset. Now, over here we have once again blue 4 in red, and over here we have red 4 in blue, and I think that's just going to be how it is for this entire tournament. Now, down here we have Jasp, who is playing as infantry, against Mahti, who is playing as the 79th Tank Division. And then up here we have Horse playing as the 39th Infantry, against Phoenix playing as the 3rd Tank Division. Let's get this show on the road. So, Bandanner won their first game in the first round. The other team didn't play in the first round. That's just how it worked out, based on randomization. So, where is the fighting going to take place? As we know from this map, it often is in Delta or Foxtrot and Alpha due to the amount of buildings there. Plenty of infantry coming in for Jasp here. No tank. Oh, little tanks at the back there. Bringing in an Abrams straight away. Over on the other side for Mahti, lots of infantry. Not many tanks at the moment. Plenty of choppers coming in, heading towards the middle. Some AA choppers there, ready to deal with any enemy helicopter rush. I will note that neither team have buzzed out the attack bombers straight away, the cluster bombers, which is a tactic we've seen in a few games, but not everyone is doing it. Cobra there going very far forward, getting a couple of shots off at that BRDM-2. BRDM-2 being taken out by those transports, which are in this case recon. Also not a BRDM-2 being veered off there. Both teams sending forces towards the centre, but Mahti having the significant force there at the moment, along with Horse. Jasp getting a little bit of a foothold straight away in Foxtrot, and that is actually one of the better tactics on this map. To get in there, because it's all buildings, if you can get a strong foothold and not get pushed out, then you've pretty much secured half of that zone. The centre is obviously the most important. Up here we can see there are a significant number of forces for Phoenix. They are, however, hanging back in a much more defensive position. However, there aren't a lot over here for Horse, though I will note he does have some defensive units in the forest there to stop any units getting past. The same down here, Mahti has some RPO there. That BRDM-2 getting a look at the back, probably wanting to see exactly where that command vehicle is and do it some damage. Those military police would make a very short work of it if they deploy from their vehicle, but I'm not sure that is going to happen. I'm not sure Jasp has realised that's going on. Need to keep an eye on that. Significant fight in the middle straight away. Not a lot happening up here. Phoenix has quite a significant force and could easily push forward a little bit if he so chose to. That BRDM-2 is going for the main base, by the looks of it. At least to see what is coming in and out. The centre is probably very much in the hands of Red 4 at the moment. Mahti and Horse have a significant number of units there, much less for Jasp, and Jasp having to actually pull out those units as they are routing. Phoenix, a couple of tanks up here, building a defensive line. Ideally could do with building up some forces here as well to stop that reinforcement road there. Plane being taken out there. It was a cluster bomber that was going for that Abrams. Has managed to kill the command vehicle that was there, being utilised to neutralise that point. BRDM-2 still just scouting around the back there. Another cluster coming in, this time hitting the middle, going for that tank, and doing a significant amount of damage to both that and the vehicle next to it. So that is Jasp's forces being significantly pushed out. Down here in Foxtrot, Horse has come to assist Mahti with additional reinforcements of infantry. I do believe Jasp will have issues holding this. He is bringing in military police, M67s, and they're just not the units I would be bringing in to deal with this. You want flash, you want heavy infantry squads. You don't want something for taking out vehicles necessarily. Center is firmly held by horse. Phoenix bringing in more forces there. Flash engineers, strangely, quite far back. I'd be bringing those in much closer to the center. They don't have a long range. There is another squad there, however. Another cluster coming in to try and kill that tank. And that tank is destroyed. I believe it was finished off by that Metis. More reinforcements coming in, more military police, just cheap infantry pushing in for Jasp at the bottom here. Neither team getting any points over the other as no one has a command vehicle in the center. I'm surprised that Horse and Mahti haven't got one in there at the moment, as they seem to have a pretty firm grasp of it right now. They have units out the other side, for example. Do note that Phoenix is bringing in more reinforcements here. Those flash should make short work of those motor Strelki. That UAZ obviously has no weapon, so it isn't really a threat. This BRDM-2 still sat there. HE bomber coming in there. Did drop its payload in the middle. Didn't look like it did because of the smoke, but has indeed dropped. Mech rifles coming in and more military police and a pattern coming in for Jasp now. Phoenix slowly bringing in more forces at the top there, probably looking to make a push into the center. My comment at the moment would be that Mahti and Horse, their units are very sparsely populating the center here. There are units sort of scattered around the edge, mostly infantry. Nothing too scary. I think a lot of their focus has become on Foxtrot for both players. At the top, you can see those RPO scouting around the back there. They'll be hoping to get in and kill the commander, I imagine. Igla's just moving up there slowly, but no real push here. I do believe that realistically Phoenix has the bigger force. More reinforcements arriving for Phoenix for that push into the center. Horse's units trying to get round the back. Trying to keep an eye on what this BRDM-2 is doing, which isn't very much at the moment. No one else has anything round the back except those RPOs, which are trying their best. Little squad here, I assume, for defensive and scouting purposes more than anything else. More reinforcements coming in here. I will note that Jasp is losing a lot of infantry here. He is bringing in a lot of forces and losing a lot. It's difficult to say how many Mahti and Horse are losing, but I assume they're equally losing quite a few. Attack beacon there from Jasp. Not entirely sure if that's a reminder for himself or for Phoenix. Phoenix now bringing in more forces here. Now this is clever. This area here is very important. If you're the player on this side of the map and you can control this area, you block the reinforcements from this road, as we've seen in the other games. Those engineers did get very far forward. They're not going to be very much use against vehicles, but they will take out any infantry. And he also has this tank here, which is close enough to that road to be providing some support. Ideally, he needs more reinforcements here, getting in that building. And, you know, at a push, even getting in here. Anything to stop units coming along that road. Lots and lots of fighting still going on down in Foxtrot. No attempt to cap that again from Jasp, but it is providing a significant distraction for the enemy team still. Finally seeing Mahti put a command vehicle in the center point there, so they will start to get some points. Phoenix, a fairly solid defensive line. I notice those RPOs are now coming around the back slowly. BRDM-2 isn't really moving. I assume it has very limited range. I'm curious what it can actually see in the grand scheme of things. A little bit of scouting there, I think. Those military police just moving up slightly. Very few forces left in Foxtrot now for Jasp. I think he's been redirecting forces towards the centre. I notice a couple of choppers in there as well now. Phoenix doing a very good job of pushing this point. Unfortunately, did lose those flash engineers, but that's not surprising. As soon as a vehicle comes along, they're going to be useless. RPOs edging ever closer perhaps, but not moving very fast. Jasp slowly pushing towards the centre. Not a huge amount of units piling in from either team at the moment. There are some more infantry coming in and some mortars there for Jasp. Mech rifles coming in for Phoenix. Obviously going to head into this area. Oh, those horses are getting very close to the front there. Very, very lucky Osas, might I add. I'm surprised they weren't killed. Horse pushing up some transports there just as scouts. RPOs still getting that tiny bit closer. Just having a look at what's happening around the back. Still nothing with that BRDM2. Now that is interesting. So Jasp has brought in a tank to neutralize that point, but doesn't have a foothold at all in this anymore. Vehicle there destroyed very easily by all of the infantry that are there. I'm not quite sure what the plan is other than just to slow the points. I think the majority of their forces are now focused here. MI-24 made short work of that, however came up against a fully ranked up Stinger and was immediately killed. Grenzers there with their weapons turned on, so we'll be providing a line of sight. However, equally, while they're providing line of sight, will unfortunately be giving away their own position. Cluster bomber came in there, taking out that command tank in the corner. It's an odd decision to keep putting command vehicles in there without them being more well defended. Bit of a waste. But at least it temporarily slowed down the point income. Phoenix still has a significant amount of units here, but really needs to push and be holding this area here. And we can see Jasp is now making a push into the lower end of the point as well. Still a weird BMP-1 sat at the back here, surviving against those mech rifles quite well. And they are out of missiles, so it will continue to do so. Cluster bomber there, going for the tank that was here, and does appear to have killed it. No movement from that BRDM2. Those RPOs are now in a building in that town. They will be going for these command units, but they will be up against an enemy engineer flash. So as long as those flash don't move, there should be plenty of warning and time to deal with them. A lack of anti-air in the middle here for the Blue 4 side, I should say. I was about to say the Soviets because they're red, but no, it's Blue 4. It's NATO. Have managed to kill the chopper using general fire from machine guns, though. Attempt to destroy any vehicles there has not done much damage to that tank, though. Spetsnaz again with their weapons on, giving away their positions quite readily. A couple of mortars here, I've not noticed them fire yet. RPOs are not moving. RPOs up here still not moving at the moment. Mortars are now firing. What at exactly is an interesting question. These are the new 81mm mortars, and they often stop firing before any of the shells actually land, which is quite interesting. Hitting that point there, they are not the most accurate of units, I must admit. Another cluster strike coming in there to kill that pattern at the back. And a second one to finish the job. Very good use of those planes. The Su-24's devastating at the moment. And a HE variant coming in as well. Dropping on the side of that hill. At the same time, however, you will note that they have also lost their command vehicle, Mahti's little vehicle that was at the back. Is that cluster fire coming in there? Yes, that is MRLS cluster fire coming in against that point. An engineer squad getting very far forward for Phoenix there. I'm not quite sure what the plan was, or if that was just a mistake. Lots of reinforcements coming in from Mahti. Mahti and Horse having a significantly strong hold of Foxtrot now. No way that anyone's going to be taking that off them. It's all going to be about fighting for the middle. Obviously, ideally, I'm sure Horse would like to get in here as well. I don't think Phoenix is aware of all of these infantry skirting around the back, even with that Bradley there. Still no movement from that BRDM-2. Lots of arty fire, counter battery against the MRLS clusters. I'm hoping that they are moving those clusters around each time they fire, though I must say that shot is fairly close to that cluster. More fire from those mortars, and equally there are some artillery firing on Jasp's units in the centre. If we zoom out, we can see there is a significant concentration of NATO troops, while the Soviet troops are much more spread out all along the map. Realistically, there are a lot of forces here that could be pushed forward. Obviously, Phoenix doesn't know what's here, but he has a sizable force, though he will soon need to provide defense at the back of this point, and there are plenty more Strelkies slowly running around. Horse playing the long game here to get round the back. The centre is quite a battleground still. It's actually hard to say at this stage which way the game is going to go. Both teams have a significant amount of forces on the field. Both teams are heavily contesting that centre point. Both making good use of artillery and bombers now. Fire support request there from Mahti, who has obviously spotted that big artillery piece is there. It's a very nice model. That was a plane going down there. Still not sure Phoenix is aware of all of these infantry that are around behind him. Some anti-air in the centre here now at Pivads. Although immediately as soon as those infantry have come in, the artillery is raining down on them. They do not want them to have control at that point. Cluster bomber coming in now as well. I suspect this is we're throwing everything at it in case it's infantry or a vehicle. Keeping an eye on these units up here, because sooner or later they're going to make their move, I assume, when these mortar Strelki arrive. Not a lot happening at the bottom of the map. Horse perhaps pondering about trying to get some units around the back as well. That BRDM2 still just sat there quietly, waiting. Significant concentration of forces here, which are obviously now being hit by cluster MRLS on a regular basis. Another jet going down there. Counter battery fire from one of those cluster MRLS. Ah. Now Phoenix should be aware that there are infantry behind him at this stage, as his scout vehicle has just been destroyed. Hopefully he has realised that that's going on. I do notice some engineers coming in there, scouts, and another Abrams, so perhaps it has realised that Horse is getting stuff around the back. Lots of forces coming in from both teams in the centre. Still got a hold on it with those infantry commanders, though there is equally a Sapri commander coming in at the other side now. HE bombers hitting that back point, and cluster bombers, and more cluster bombers, and another HE bomber, and another HE bomber. Still a lack of anti-air here, realistically. I can see stingers there and things like that, but just not doing any damage to the majority of those jets that come over. And obviously AA fighters, air superiority coming in, but a little bit too late, and often coming up against better anti-air. Big shots coming in from that M110A2, 203mm artillery, which does a huge amount of damage. Lots of mortar fire as well. There are another 2 mortars there. No, another 3 mortars. There are now 5 in total. However, they are receiving counter battery fire. They're doing a good job of keeping all these units suppressed. Not a lot happening at the bottom of the map. A significant cluster of forces for the Soviets here. At the top of the map, we're still not seeing any movement from these troops. I would have thought they would have chosen to attack by now. Perhaps still waiting for these other Motostrelki to get in position. Though they should be aware that Phoenix is likely going to have a response to that, as surely he has noticed that his scout vehicle was destroyed. The M110A2 not being moved very much. Mahti has moved his BRDM2 forward, so can probably see that from his position now. I do note that there is a Motostrelki commander coming in for Horse now. This is a significantly long play for Horse at the top of the map. However, Phoenix must be aware now, if not before now, that there are enemy units behind this point. I mean, that Bradley is engaging those Motostrelki. And this is the thing, you know, you can't get tunnel vision just focusing on this area of the map. You have to keep an eye on what's going on behind you at all times in this game. Now, that BRDM2 has fired and its weapons are on. I believe has fired at that Black Hawk, and again, you know, that has opened fire on a Black Hawk. Its weapons aren't turned off. You would hope that Jasp realised this and knows that that vehicle is there. But there's no marker gone down. I can't see anything being directed towards it. There is now movement at the top of the map. The Sapri have moved forward against these engineers. They are engaging each other. There are a lot less engineers in a squad than there are Sapri. However, their RPOs are already depleted, but the engineers are dead. Phoenix running those commanders away. But at the moment, for me, it looks like Horse is in a much better position. Realistically, Phoenix needs to reinforce that point. A constant stream of bombers and artillery coming down on the NATO forces now. You can see that at the bottom of this point, where Jasp did at one point have a lot of units, there is now nothing, and the center point has now again been neutralized. Those infantry have been killed. Look at this constant stream of bombers, and just unfortunately a lack of anti-air, I'm afraid, for the NATO side. They are killing a few of these bombers that are coming in, but certainly not enough. That's nice to see. Those choppers, the anti-air choppers, are actually making a difference. They weren't there before. They have managed to kill a couple of those bombers, which is a significant improvement. I notice a lot of units moving in down the bottom here from Jasp as well. I assume the intent to be that he will get a commander into the bottom of this point, but realistically he's up against a lot of enemy units, and there is a lot of enemy units defending down here, which I assume he doesn't know are there. And still, nothing being done about that BDRM-2. Up at the top of the map, those Sapri are slowly pushing forward, getting closer and closer to those command units. Scouts and engineers moving in, the Bradley coming in closer. That command unit is now in the point as well. There's still another 7 minutes or so of this game left. And while at the moment I can think that it would be in favour of the Soviets, it could certainly swing back the other way depending on the manoeuvres that the NATO team make. Horse now with a foothold on this top point. Those Sapri are still alive, barely hanging on with one unit left. Engineers taking a lot of fire from those Motostrelki there. Not really a match unless they're a little bit closer, and they are also out in the open while the Motostrelki are in a building. Over 50% points now to the Soviet side. This attempted push here from Jasp, a good effort, but without knowing what was there, unfortunately have taken significant losses already, though have managed to clear a lot of these units up that were here. Still, Phoenix and Jasp with a number of troops in the centre, however not capping that point currently. They are bringing in another mech rifles, I assume, to push in at this side, but the problem is they're just getting pummeled by artillery constantly and more bombers that are coming in again. Horse moving in significant numbers of forces now to help secure Alpha. Really wants to hold on to this point. Those Stingers not doing a lot sat in that building, even though there's a chopper right next to them. Still significant issues with infantry firing across buildings. That BRDM-2 has moved significantly further forward, is obviously looking for a command vehicle in the back of the map. Those clusters continue to take counter battery fire. I don't think they're moving around very much, unfortunately, for Phoenix. Phoenix holding on to this point as best he can at the moment, but without more reinforcements will probably struggle to keep it once all of these guys arrive. There's a lot more Motostrelki there. Have been pushed back out of the point here. I do know Jasp has a couple more units down here, but it is mostly a tank and some units to repair and rearm the Stingers. I think his mortars are just laying down some covering fire on that UAZ there, but a bit of a waste of munitions, to be honest. Significant amount of fire hitting the guys down here. The commander that was there obviously dead as well. There is a lot of artillery on the map right now. I mean, we're getting into a long game here. It is 29 minutes of gameplay. And the issue with that is that people will be starting to run dry of units to call in. We will probably be seeing more expensive units being brought in that weren't earlier, and also all the things like artillery, mortars, things that you wouldn't necessarily want earlier on in the game. That's also what concerns me a little bit about up here at the top with Phoenix, as obviously there is a significant difficulty in holding that point against such a significant force, while Phoenix is not bringing in reinforcements to help deal with that. Jasp trying his best to get a little foothold in this point again. Phoenix bringing in that commander. Look at all of these mortars. Wow. And this is what I mean about bringing in units, because that's all you have left. You know, I can see patterns coming in. I can see lots of mortars coming in. It does feel very much like a last-ditch attempt to do some damage with whatever units are left in the deck. Cluster bomber coming in again, going for that tank at the back, doing a significant amount of damage. Cluster up here again, going for this Bradley by the looks of it. Will kill it in one swift move. This point remains neutralized. Phoenix's commander getting ever closer to being killed, unfortunately. Center point has been neutralized. Fire support request has gone down from horse. They know where that commander is, and they will be firing everything they have to kill it. At the moment, certainly looking like a win for horse and Mahti. Artillery fire coming across the map, going for that artillery piece again. Look at all of those mortars. So many mortar shells. Mortars effective to some degree if they get a direct hit, but blast damage is pretty poor, and their accuracy is overall pretty bad anyway. Phoenix holding on to this point by the skin of his teeth now. Lots of pivots coming in, dragons, a few reinforcements, but I think they're going to really struggle to win this one back at this stage. Realistically, there's just too many units here. It's not just horse. Mahti has a couple of things there as well. Middle point, lots and lots of mortars being used, lots of artillery. Napalm, which is just not very good in this game at the moment. Unfortunately, I believe this is going to go to the Soviets. Very strong fight put up by Jasp and Phoenix. Good attempt by Jasp to get a foothold in Foxtrot at the start. Just not enough reinforcements of the right type of units to be able to continue to push. And that is game. Major victory for Horse and Mahti. Significant difference in the number of kills here. Obviously, that makes all the difference. If you've got significantly more numbers of infantry and tanks on the field than your enemy, you know you're going to win. You just have that overwhelming force. Very well played to both teams. Good effort to hold out as long as they did to Phoenix and Jasp. Thanks very much for watching, everyone. Please stay tuned for the next match in round 2, and I'll see you all soon for that.